reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today is Tuesday, October the 15th, 2019. The time is 6 p.m. and this is a regular meeting. The Greensburg Water Board will be called to order. To comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the city requests that participants in this meeting complete a voluntary anonymous survey that is available on the table in the back of the room. Have a roll call, Donna.
Chuck?
Here.
Tony?
Here.
Frank?
Here.
Brian?
Here.
Robin?
Here.
Minutes from September 17th, 2019's meeting were distributed in your packet. Are there any objections or corrections to the minutes as distributed? If not, they will be accepted. New business, HNTB update, Darren.
Good afternoon, everyone. A couple of things from last month, kind of give you some updates. The clear well, they poured a slab last week. It was about 300, a little over 300 cubic yards. That'll probably be the biggest concrete pour they'll do on the site for the type of project. So that was a long day for them. They're post-tension that slab. They'll be starting next week on setting forms for the walls. They'll have to do the walls in 7 pours, so there'll be 7 different setups for that. That takes about a week a piece, so about 7 weeks to do all those walls, roughly. They installed all the micro piles since last month. On the water treatment plant side of things, they placed the concrete for the pipe gallery slab. They started forming up the walls. The walls for the foundation for that building, they'll do its 5 pours. They've done 1 pour already. They'll do another pour on Friday and then work their way around. So I'd say by next month they'll have those walls done and be moving on to the slab as well. Pump and electric building. There's a theme here. There's a lot of concrete here to start out with. Wet well walls are complete. They've got portions of the building foundation walls poured. They've installed some of the electric duct bank conduits that are under the foundation. They've started backfilling to bring it up. They've also installed, there's 2 big pipings, the backwash supply line and the finished water line going out of that building. Part of those lines are under the slab foundation, so they've put portions of those in as well. They've started some of the underground piping connecting the water plant from to the pump and electric or wet well station, so that's started. Let's see what else. Some numbers, if you're into numbers. I think they got a pay app in front of you. I think the total to date is 1.7, a little 1.7, almost 1.8 million. That's about 9% of the total project cost. So if you look at where we're at from a money standpoint, they've been on the site about 51 days. I'm basing that on the number of days my inspector has filed a report. He files a report every day there on site. It's about 107, 108 days from notice proceed. So they've had about 108 days. We're 108 days into a 30-month project, basically. And we got about 830 some days left. So there's some of the statistics, I guess. And now the fun part, I'll walk through some of the photos since last month. Here we're looking at, this is a clear well slab. They're placing the stone. They did that in 2 layers. You see the little, looks like sticks sticking up. Those are all the micro piles. They were about every 5 feet. entire grid for the system, and that's part of the foundation to support the tank as well as the slab. Here they're forming some of there's two sumps, so that if the tank ever has to be drained down, they can get it all the way dry. So and there'll really just be a sump. We won't put a pump in there. That'll just be something if Rick ever has to take one of this tank down, he'll just have to drop a pump down in there. And you'll be able to drain quite a bit of the tank. It's probably the last, I say not a lot, but 3 or 4 feet, but that's still a lot of water and things, so there'll be a way to pump that out. Here again, the Clearwell slab, there's stones down, they've compacted, and they're required to put a plastic membrane underneath the slab, and that's what they're doing there. There the plastic membrane is done, and the outside forms for the foundation are in place. It looks like an ice skating ring. And here is installing the rebar and tensioning cables. You see the rebar is the darker colored, more black. That's your traditional steel. The blue is the tensioning cables. What this system is they pour the concrete slab, and then they come back as soon as it reaches, I think it's 3,000 strength PSI. They go and they put tension on those cables. They actually try to stretch the cables, and what that does is that puts the slab of concrete in tension, so that the more in tension it is, the less likely it is to crack, or less likely it is to, it minimizes the crack. I won't say it won't crack, but the idea is that you get a longer life foundation and tank of concrete and putting it in post tension. So that's what that is. And they're doing that same thing to the walls. We only did that on this tank because it's very hard to take your Clearwell out of service at any time. It needs to be in service 24 hours, all the time. So taking out of service is difficult. So we want to try to make the best tank possible. There's just another up close shot that's a little easier to see. Some of the reinforcing steel in there, and also see the post tensioning cables. And here's the start of pouring that slab. I don't know if there's anything. Here's the concrete pumper. That's what you see, the one guy there that pumps the concrete in place. Only kind of different thing besides the bull float, they had a power screener there. Worked pretty well. And there is the finished slab. You can kind of see, it looks like an outline about 2 feet from the edge there. In between the edge and that is where the actual walls will go, and they'll be set up there. They don't mechanically anchor the walls when they first pour it. They'll just set on the slab, then they'll post tension those, and then they'll pour fillets around there to anchor the walls in place. So hopefully next month I'll get some photos to show you that. The center things in there are just support beams to support the roof. There'll be columns they'll build up.
What's the capacity of that thing here?
A little over 850,000 gallons. So it's not quite a million, just under a million. So, and here's some of the, you can see the cables in the slab, and that's a hydraulic jack here, and they basically jack against the slab itself to put it in tension. They move it about, depending on the length of the cable, 11 inches was about as much as they stretched it. So they have a plus or minus. The worst case scenario was plus or minus 7 inches. So on either side of it. Most of the time they were in the 10 and a half, 10 inches, somewhere in that range. And here's another picture of them just doing the tent post-tension. Okay, moving on. This is the water treatment plant slab. You can see the rebar is in place. They're getting ready to pour. orange things are floor drains, and the other things are drains underneath the slab as well. And they're placing that concrete. Nothing spectacular about that. I think that was about 160 cubic yards that day. Here's the first form of the walls for the pipe gallery. Spectacular there. There's some rebar. That all. Since this picture today I was out there, that's all been formed up, and that's the pour they're making on Fridays for that wall there, section there. This in the background there, that concrete there that you see, that's the wet well for the pump and electric building, the wet well. And then you start to see the forming out the foundation walls here, which you see in the forefront of the photo there as well. And here's some of the electrical conduit that comes into that building. This is the main, that duct bank there is the main duct bank that brings power from the utility into the pump and electrical building, and then from there it's dispersed out to all the various sites. So that's our main power feed coming in. And they have to encase it in concrete. The red on there, those in construction know that if you dig and you find red concrete, stop, because it's an electrical duct bank underneath there, so you don't want to hit that. Anytime you find red concrete when you're digging, stop immediately, because that's a warning sign. Here we're looking at the manhole. There is a chemical feed structure on the finished water line that you see. The pipe going up there will actually be inside the building. So that's the concrete onto the right there is the wet well, and then the building is about double that, so about over to the west there. That would be where the building would be, where the actual, there'll be some blowers in there and some of the piping and configuration header for the pumps are also in that area there. So that standpipe gets all buried, and what you see at the very top will be inside the building. That was from the last time. That is obviously out of order. That is the sump for the water treatment plant. Pipe gallery there. That is the manhole we were just looking at. That will be the chemical feed. There's also an inline mixer at that location. That's what the spacing that piping is. They don't have the inline mixer yet, so they leave space for that so they can continue installing piping. And here's them pouring that foundation wall on the pump and electrical building. I guess that's it. Any questions?
Looks like they're making good progress.
Yeah, we're looking over their schedule at this point in time to try to. We got their master schedule for the entire project has finally been completed. We're looking through that and see if we see any holes with that. And I hope to get comments back to them by the end of the week on that, and they can update them. I asked them today if they thought they were ahead, behind, where are on schedule, and they said they're not behind. They may be a little ahead, but they're not ready to say that they're ahead. There's certain areas are ahead, and others are not. So they're not. They said they think they're on schedule at this point. They're not ready to count any that they're ahead of schedule at this point. But
Have they run into any major problems there? Besides that little bit of water they started out with?
yeah, that's not as dry as it's been. That dried up as soon as they stuck a pump. But no, the ground conditions have been good so far. They're digging in an area where we know there's not anything. They haven't gotten the street, so they haven't run into anything that's unknown at this point. No, the biggest thing is trying to get supplies there in the right manner and time. They've had to, they've hoping to be ahead on the pouring of the walls. Been waiting on a couple of wall sleeves where the pipe goes through the penetration or through the wall. They've been waiting on some of those, and that's delayed it a little bit on those pours. they're working on other areas. Yeah, there hasn't been any major issues at this point. I think like today, I was out there today, I think there was 21 guys working, so they've got 2 subs working. Most of them are, 15 of the guys are Wilhelm guys, and then they got 2 electrical guys, and some of the post-tensioning is a subcontractor that does all that post-tensioning work, so they have 5 of those guys on site today. So yeah, the hardest part's been finding a place to park for all the workers. That's probably been the only big struggle they've had. So but no, it's everything's moving pretty well. So.
How about your drawing review?
Oh, it's always a struggle. We are keeping up. We've set up. We meet on a monthly basis just to go over, process the pay request and go over and kind of get an update of what they're going to do through the next 4 weeks. Because of submittals are coming in this part of the project a lot more significant, we've decided to meet every other week. We have a phone call or a little short meeting, and all we're doing is looking at submittals and RFIs and to make sure that we're staying ahead and responding to what's, a lot of times they'll submit stuff and, oh, well, that's not important. This one is important. So we kind of get there prioritizing which way we need to focus some of our time and effort on. So, but usually we're probably, I think we only had 2 hot ones, but we took care of 4 yesterday. So I think we're down to 2. Probably by the time we get to office tomorrow, we'll be back up to 4. But yeah, it's, and that's typically on a project the first 6-8 months is when about 90% of those submittals come in. So yeah, that's always a struggle. Early on, we have a lot more time than we do toward the end of the project. So far, they haven't complained too much. I figured out too. I get a phone call, and then I get 2 other guys calling me within 20 minutes. Okay, something needs immediate attention. Other than that, it's been fun so far.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Honda Tower Beacon, is that you, Rick?
Yes, sir. Afternoon. Frank's probably noticed the beacon on the tower's been out for quite some time now. I had MadTech take a look at it, the specs. I got the specs from it. I think Darren sent it to me last month, or maybe Frank, I can't remember. So he called Flashpoint, on who originally supplied the light itself to us, and they no longer make the bulb that was required. What they want to do is sell us an LED, a whole new setup. With that being said, Mike said without give me an actual quote, he said you're probably looking around $5,000. And that's if the mechanism itself that's in the tower, there's nothing wrong with it. He did just call me today and said he did find a company that he could get them bulbs at. And we're looking anywhere from probably $1,500 to $2,000 for the bulbs and the labor to install. So I told him, let me talk to the board and see what their wishes are, which way you want to go. If we want to look at the possibly going to the LED, or do we want to, the bulbs that is supplied with it, I believe this will be true too, it's 4-year bulbs. I'm not sure how long the LED, would last compared to that. So, Frank, you got anything on that? You're a water tower guy.
I'm not an electrician. I just build the structure to put it on. So yeah, typically they'll just be specified, so.
Right.
I have not heard of the timeline of LED versus the regular yet.
I don't have a preference either way. I do feel we probably need to get it taken care of, get it flashing again, day and nights out on it. So, but
4 years, how long it lasts?
4-year bulbs is what it says. I can only remember replacing them one time, and the tower's been there for 12 years, I believe. So, they probably say 4 years, they might get 5 or 6. I don't know what it's looking like, but
I
why would we go to LED?
It doesn't matter to me, honestly. I don't know if we wanna spend the extra money and go ahead, cause that's obviously where, you know, everything's going LED, so. Or if we wanna just replace the bulbs. In 4 years, we might not be able to find those bulbs, so, you know, he had a hard time finding these.
Rick, do you know what rural water's got on their thing?
I do not. I know their tower's out on the Millhouse Road, and they can't find the specs on theirs because MadTech was gonna do both of them at the same time. They can't find the specs on it, so they're on hold.
They could,
That's what they told me. And they called Wetzel, that actually designed it, so,
yeah, cause like, he said that he had contacted her, and had it all taken care of.
oh,
Took me out of the loop.
according to Roger, they don't have the specs for it.
We don't know how long an LED would last compared to the traditional.
I do not, Robert. I do not.
They say they'll last
The
a long time.
LED, there could be a problem inside where the LED won't work.
He said, no, just replace the bulbs, just the bulbs up top. He said it appears everything's working the way it should, except the bulbs are just burnt out. It's doing the rotation, and there's different buttons he checked and clicked, and whatever you do to them, it's a great big box for a flashing light. He said it appears everything's working fine, but, you know, just the bulbs the way it is, 1,500 to 2,000, if that box is fine.
And LED is definitely a wave of the future. I mean, that's where
Yeah, that's-
everything's going, so. I hate to spend that kind of money, but I would say go to LED if you're gonna fix it. That's one man's opinion. We have to do it someday.
That a motion from the chair?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We go with the LED lighting. Motion been made, got a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, Donna?
Chuck?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Do you want me to have him get pricing together, or do you want to give me up to 5,000, because he said it's probably around what you're looking at?
I think that's 5,000.
Yeah, give you the availability to go as high as 5,000, right?
Okay.
How quick do they have that done?
I don't know, he said.
You got any issues for not having it working?
I don't think we're actually at the height, that's what we was talking about earlier, me and Darren.
I thought we put it in there as we didn't have to by FFA or yeah, I can't say. Anyway, we don't have to by their rules, but we went ahead and did it just as precautionary in case those rules change, or I think they were looking at the airport expansion even back then, and then we just wanted to make sure, so.
So nothing we're not gonna throw like a fine for it.
I do not believe, and I'll go back and look at, because I can pull the permit that we got on that, for that, and confirm that, but that's what I remember from it, was that it wasn't required, but we went ahead and did it.
Yeah, 12 years ago, it would be, when you gotta go out into the airspace. They changed a little bit nowadays.
Which was fine, which was fine.
Could. Gonna help. They're a little different ball on that thing, unfortunately.
I'll stay on the ground and see what happens. I do have one other thing, I do not have any pricing on it yet, but it appears that I'm gonna possibly have to, if you guys remember, we did an inline mixer, we took the tray aerator off plant 2, installed an inline mixer because we wasn't getting our mixing. We're having some issues right now. We're actually pumping directly from the river because the water quality is so much better. We're adding liquid alum and dry alum at this time to get our settling, and everything's good. But for some reason, we're not getting our mixing like we should, so I had National Water Service show up last Friday to get measurements and everything on taking the tray aerator off plant 1 and installing an inline mixer like we did on plant 2. The rake unit and the how plant 2 is right now, we can't hardly run it half the time. The rake unit's broke down. Where I thought about taking an inline mixer off plant 2, installing it on plant 1. But then if there's an issue where I have to have plant 2, I have no capabilities of running at that time. So next month I will probably come back, have a price on getting that inline mixer installed. And just to give you a heads up, I think the last time we did it, Donna, if you remember, I don't know if you remember or not, but I think it was around $12,000 to $15,000 is what it was. So I'll have something, just money, Robin.
Did you make it last 30 more months?
I'm trying. I'm doing everything I can, I promise.
830 days?
So, hey, and we always go through this time of year, and it's, the fact of the matter is, it's a simple fact of we're bottlenecked in our clarification, and it's the quality water we got coming in right now, and the better mix I have, the better outcome. So maybe the water quality change in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Usually every year about this time I deal with it, and we fight it for 90 days. So if I can stay in
Is it a
compliance,
matter of leaves and stuff falling?
it's just the organics in the water. And with it being so dry, I think it actually helped us a little pumping directly from the river, because we went from 0.25s turbidity out of upland down to 0.11s pumping directly from Flat Rock. So we're doing good right now, but I don't want to be caught where I can't stay in compliance. So next month I will have something put together for you, and I'll have an update on how we're doing still. So
Very good.
that's all I have. Any questions for me?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, Dan, anything to bring before the board?
Looks like they're moving really well down there, so really looks very
Does
good.
anybody have anything to bring before the board? Not?